Thanks for joining me today. Today we are making spicy, fluffy carrot cake pancakes, and these hit all the boxes. They are healthy, they are fast and easy, they are fluffy, they are warm, they are delicious. So let's get started. So we are starting on our carrot cake pancakes, and we want them nice and fluffy, just like a cake. So we're going to start with the dry ingredients. We mix those together, and then we mix the wet. I am starting with whole wheat pastry flour. You could also have whole wheat flour, and you could use an oat bran, but you need a cup of the dry, and then 1 cup of grated carrots. Now they call those the dry. Those are part of the dry ingredients. It calls for 1/2 of a teaspoon of salt, but I always like putting in less because I can add it later. I'm going to put a spoon in there and taste it and add it if I need it. Then 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1/2 of a teaspoon of baking soda and 1/2 of a teaspoon of ground nutmeg. And remember, when you start buying these ingredients, then you'll have these ingredients. Then making things like this isn't so difficult, but when you have nutmeg, you're going to be using those for years. And then 1 teaspoon of cinnamon that was hiding there. And 1/2 of a teaspoon of ginger. And then we put in 1/4 cup of our walnuts, and I chose walnuts. You can choose pecans. And then I love golden raisins. Now, some people make a carrot cake tropical, and they're adding lime juice and coconut, and I'm going to give that a go. But for today, I'm not. Okay, so we're going to just kind of mix this together. Now, after we make this, we let this sit for 15 minutes because when you cook with whole wheat, it has to get into the whole wheat flour. And for the wet, we have 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk. I love the sour taste it gives. 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and I make my own, and that's why it looks that way, is because I grind up my vanilla. 2 tablespoons of a unflavored oil. I always use avocado oil. You could use olive oil if you had a light tasting one. I try and stay away from the seed oils. And it does call for 2 tablespoons of honey. And you could use date syrup, you could use maple syrup, you could use pureed dates. That's what I always use. 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, and that gives it a nice flavor, balances the sour from the buttermilk, and will go perfect with the raisins and the carrots and the cinnamon. You know, I'm not a fan of a lot of sugar, so I don't use any refined, so this is where you end up going. Now, I have tried recipes with 1 egg and with 2 eggs, and I'm going to use 2 eggs just because I would probably eat an egg anyway, and we do want these fluffy. And I just mix these up. You could do that extra step, which I've done in my waffles, which is you beat the egg whites separately, but today we're not going to. And we just incorporate all that. We've got all the yummy flavors here. And now we're going to mix the wet into the dry. And we're going to let this sit for 15 minutes to swell up so we can have nice fluffy. You know, if your house is dry or whatever, if it's too thick, then we just add a little bit more buttermilk. Now you could also add, you know, yogurt milk, almond milk, whatever your milks that you like is. But we stir these, but you don't want to stir a lot. You just want to incorporate. So lift up from the bottom and drop it and get it all incorporated. Okay, see you in 15. Okay, we are back, and I have let my carrot cake batter rest. And I did say that I was going to taste it raw and see if it needed a little bit more salt. It was close to what I like because I try and cut out as much salt as I can because I think that's a goal that everyone should have. But at the end of the day, if it tastes good and I don't need the salt, then why would I put the salt? So for now, what we can do is if you have an olive oil or a spray that you like, if you have an oil or a butter that you like, I use just a sprayer of oil, and you could also add in some butter, just a shot. I only use butter for flavor. I don't use it as a ingredient. You know, I'm not going to put 2 sticks of butter in anything like in my whole life. But, okay, so that we can tell our pan is nice and hot because that butter took off. And so then we put 1/4 cup. I'm going to turn that down a little. Going to put 1/4 cup of batter in a couple of spots. Those will be nice and toasty, won't they? My gosh, I can smell that nutmeg. You know, nutmeg's a sleeper cell. It's gorgeous. You don't know what's in there. It's not a big deal. It's not screaming at you, but it's beautiful. So we're just going to let those cook a little bit until they get bubbles because of the chemical reaction with the buttermilk and the baking powder and the baking soda and the egg white. These are going to be beautiful and puffy. So we'll wait for some holes to show up. Let's check him. Oh, he's nice and toasty. He's just starting on his bubbles. If I was making these for people, I'd hide these on the bottom, but they smell beautiful. They're not burned. They're getting toasty, though. Let's check him out on the bottom. He is perfect. Be right back to plate them. Okay, I've got them plated. Now it's totally up to you what you put on yours, but I am going to do just a little bit of Greek yogurt, a couple of raisins, a couple of nuts that I stirred with a little bit of maple syrup, and a little maple syrup all over everybody. Now what I would do is put this in the middle of the table, and we would all be sharing. These look absolutely beautiful. It is so quiet outside. You guys, I am eating carrot cake. It's delicious. It's perfect. I would eat those carrot pancakes for dinner. They're that good. They make me that happy. So I hope you like them. I hope you give them a try, and I will see you soon. And please like and subscribe. Thanks.